We got Wilson Morales from Black Film and TV talking to Rome Flynn on his upcoming role in Godfather of Harlem,
Hmm.
season 4. How's it going?
How you doing? I just saw you a couple weeks ago.
Yes, it is. Small world. So tell
Yeah.
the world what role you're playing and how much investment you put into playing this character.
Yeah, well, I play a young Frank Lucas, in sort of his arrival to Harlem and the beginning stages of the making of who we know Frank Lucas to be now. Yeah, on an amazing show called Godfather of Harlem, working
Mhm.
opposite of
Now,
Fort Whitaker.
now, we saw what Denzel did with the role in his movie American Gangster. Obviously, there's what you can read on the web, and there are those who live in Harlem who knows the guy. How much more did you want to add to the character outside of what the script called for?
Pretty much everything. The text in the script is just what it is, just words. You know, it's like my job to sort of shape the character, shape the perspective of who he is, in a way where we can build off of it. And so that means trying to cultivate a real person, like a complex and fully dimensional person with feelings and, emotions. And so that you're not just watching a show that's just a guy, doing bad things like, murdering or whatever, just a man that's in situations where he's doing these things.
Mhm. And then what was the extent of your research? Obviously they're giving you what they want him to play on the show, but
Right.
for your own context, so when people know you're playing this role, you're not out there not knowing anything. So how much more research did you do? Like prior
Mhm.
to getting on set, you got the role. So now you got it before you start shooting. How much more did you do? Like in terms of knowing who this guy was?
Yeah. Yeah, so for me, my approach wasn't to imitate him at all, but to just sort of capture his essence in a way. Um, and that just meant going back and trying to get as much research as I could on him as the man, not necessarily the things that he had done. And there wasn't a lot out there, but yeah, I mean, I shaped everything from the mannerisms to how he talks and the accent and everything. So it's really a really complete different reimagination of what Denzel had done in that film, almost completely different.
hmm you're on a set with people who've been on the show already. How do they make you feel welcome?
Yeah, everybody just shows up and does the thing that they brought to do, and that my part of it is just trying to seamlessly be integrated into the cast, but also into the show. Um, and so I early on, it was a process of integrating this character, which is difficult because he's one of those main players, but also we have to establish him first. And so it took some time, and ultimately, I eventually started working with more of the other cast members. But at first, I didn't see them for a while.
hmm You've been working on a number of different projects over the years. What led you to say yes to taking on this project?
I really couldn't find a reason to say no. Like it was just nothing. I got to work with Forrest and play this character that is complex and just rich and full of emotion and just for me as an actor, you really strive to play characters like this. And to also work with Chris Brancato was something I was looking forward to as well. I think he's really at the forefront of creating his own cinematic universe of sorts, and to be a cog in that part of the machine for me was really dope.
hmm And just in general, because of the different type of work you've done, which is great, just whole diversity of ranges that we see you in.
Yeah.
What do you look for when you before you say yes to a role? Is it the role, the plot, the people, the location, or the time frame? Because sometimes you can get a good opportunity, but the timing is not right.
Yeah, timing is almost everything, especially when you get to a point where you working. A lot of people are just but busy for the year, so the timing has to be right. But mainly for me, it's about the substance, it's about the art, it's about the script, like the text. I start with that, reading through and figuring out if I see myself in this sort of world or project. And then I want to look at who's directing, who's attached to it, and also who would also be in the film or project. Um, you have to look at every angle because I think in this business you have very little control after you do a project. that I want to make sure like it checks off those boxes where I'm like, this is a director I want to work with, or wow, that's an actress I would love to work with. And you know, there was a lot of ways to figure out. There's a lot of ways to figure out ways to say no as far as in this business. So when you act, you know, you get a yes and things line up, it's kind of like a miracle, honestly.
Mhm. And playing Frank Lucas, is there any takeaways you've got from playing this role that helps you out skill set wise as an actor moving forward to whatever project you do next?
Skill wise, I wouldn't say so. I think this is the first time I've maybe killed someone on screen. That was that was an experience. I hadn't done that before. Um, but the approach to work is for me is always the same, you know. So I wouldn't say get extra skill from playing this character, but I just had a different appreciation of playing a person that lived. And so when I do get an opportunity, if and when I'm on set again, I'll just appreciate it even more because I know how hard and difficult it is to get to that point where you're actually on set.
Hmm. And before I let you go, obviously
Yeah.
we're approaching this new season, and so obviously they made a big to do when you got cast, which is great. Helps you out.
Mhm.
But for those who have not watched the show so far, what's a good reason for them to start tapping in now? Obviously, every year we're getting new cast, new storyline.
Yeah.
Same characters in some ways. But for those who are new that may watch it because you're on it, or this the show's still going, which
Yeah.
is the confidence that the network is given. What's another reason to watch this show?
I just don't think there's anything like it on TV right now that depicts this time period with this array of like seasoned actors, you know, portraying some of the most prolific people in American history and also honoring the details of who these people were at that time too. And so it's not to watch it because you want to be educated, but you ultimately get educated on, you know, who these people were and maybe a little insight on, you know, what could have happened or may have happened at the time. And so if you into that whole thing and, you know, that introspective, then yes, there's a reason to watch the show. But the other reason is that, you know, it's just action packed. You know, it's a lot of, you know, killing, murder is like, you know, if you're into that kind of thing, right? Drug dealing, like if you it's much of the same, like kind of like American Gangster, those things happened in that film. A lot of stuff happened in the show that's kind of similar. So
Congrats on your role. Congrats on, obviously the job. Everybody wants to continue to work. I'm sure I'll see you because, as they say, Rome stay working.
you know what they say? I
you
like
know,
that.
Rome stay working no matter what. It may be, what you say may be a year. Like, nah, we just saw you a couple of weeks ago.
Right, right.
So we'll talk down the road. I'll see you when I
Yep.
see you.
You
Take
sure will,
care.
man. All right, man.